Rebound and rebuild.
In life, you don't lose, you learn.
Every one of us has potential. 100%.
The winner is...
Here we go, rebound and rebuild.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Rebound and Rebuild.
What's up, bro?
We're here in our studios in Orlando. My name is Carlos, the creator.
Oh, yeah. I'm Coach Charles. What's up, everybody? Good to see you again.
Dude, I had like the worst morning this morning. No lie.
Come on, tell the story.
It's one of those mornings where like, you know, you're heading to like a late appointment and like you get every light red.
Oh,
and like cars are trying to block you. Like that was the kind of morning.
Did you wake up late?
I woke up late.
Oh, come on, Carlos.
So stressed. Well, there it is. Like driving, getting the kids to school. Like they were there late. Oh my gosh, it was just horrible.
First world problems, man.
But anyway, we're here. And obviously, every time I come to the studio, it just kind of changes everything.
That's cool, man. Really, you do a great job. I wish people would see the work that you put into setting this up, man. Like seriously, it's like we're doing movies, and every week there's something new, man. I mean, seriously, one day I'm gonna have this guy just do like some BTS for you to see. We're in this room, and it's literally more electronics and technology than there is anything else. It's crazy. Anyway,
well, you need to, but again, that's leveling up. So.
Yes, sir. I appreciate.
But what are we doing today? What are we talking about?
Man,
today?
we're gonna have a conversation today because this whole show is about rebounding and rebuilding.
Correct.
And one of the things that we made sure to tell our audience before we started is that we're always going to be transparent and we're going to be authentic. We're never here to sell lifestyle. This is not about two guys who made 6 figures in a month. It's so stupid. We're literally here trying to get people to understand that it's okay to go through their life with their challenges. Sure. And there will be times when you don't succeed or things don't go as planned, like this morning.
Exactly.
But you can rebound from it and you can rebuild into something greater. So today we're going to talk a little bit about forgiveness, but we're also going to talk about some of the things that we've gone through that were not successful. Yeah. Right? That may have been some of the catapulting platforms that led to it.
Right.
But crap hurts.
Exactly.
We want people to be able to, that's right. We want people to be able to understand that it's okay if they're going through that period. So if you are, I think you're going to love this show. Please stick with us because we're going to be talking a little bit more about our own personal struggles and things we faced in business and before we became the entrepreneurs that we are today.
Before we jump into that though, again, if you like Rebound and Rebuild.
No, if you love Rebound and Rebuild.
If you love like anything, just give us a like, send us a comment, man. Tell us if there's anything that we could do better or if you want to talk about something. That's right. But honestly, to those who are listening and supporting us, thank you so much.
Thank you guys
honestly,
so much, man. We love it. Thank you.
I mean, we've been getting, again, and the funny thing is, we actually changed our motto because this was a podcast for men by men. And now it's like
more women
for people by 2 men.
The women love this show, bro.
Dude, I'm like in shock.
I literally am in shock. I got chill bumps just thinking about it.
And it's things like, oh, my husband needs to see this or needs to hear this. And then it's like, I know it's for men, but
I'm learning so much.
I was like, so now it's just like a podcast for
everybody. So thank you guys for that. That blesses us.
Thank you so much. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, man. No, what would you apologize, man? You did great. And listen,
I interrupted you. I'm sorry. This is who I am.
That's all good, man. Well, listen, before we jump in, I want to tell you thank you again for letting me be a part of your journey and your story. Yeah. Because I love the fact that you and I have literally helped each other level up. Our families, like, bro, our families as units, we're always helping each other move forward. So anyway, I just wanted to say that, get that off my chest, bro.
Welcome,
I mean it, man. But
same here.
Let's jump into it real quick. So I know some people have some things they got to get to. And so like, would y'all hurry up and start talking about this topic? So in our past, there's been some things, bro, that we've walked through, some hurts in our past that kind of directed us and gave us the push, as we always talk about. We needed to kind of start our own ventures or at the least believe in ourselves enough to do that. Yeah. Can you talk about a moment or anything, any period of your life that kind of was, even if it was just one point that helped you start looking toward this direction to becoming your self-owned business owner?
Well, I think there's always different situations and different ups and downs in every season. Even when you are a
business owner,
entrepreneur, like there'll be the seasons where you're like, okay, I need to move on or I need to. But in my case, the company I was with prior to not being with him, I was with him for a little over 13 years. Yeah, which is a life.
That's a long time.
A life for kids.
Oh my gosh.
But I was fresh out of college when there.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I was expecting.
Right.
But I was truly blessed to have found that place.
Okay.
Long story short, again, I learned a lot, lived a lot, but at the end of it was hurt a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where you just go through, you know?
Right. Right.
But it was definitely a moment where like it was an eye opener for me where that I was like, okay, I need to go.
And something more at least.
And visions were changing, attitudes were coming out.
Oh man.
And it was just not good anymore. And for me, it wasn't good. And I knew that I needed to
be able to say,
to just, okay, I respect you, whatever you want to do.
Right.
But it's not me anymore.
Right.
So God bless you guys. I got to run.
Right.
But what I didn't realize was how much leaving would hurt.
Wow.
Again, I was there for a little over 13 years. So it's a lifetime. And you look at these people not necessarily as coworkers.
That's right.
Anymore.
They're family at this point.
They become family.
Right.
And I know by leaving, like I hurt many people
I can understand that.
I knew that it wasn't just like, oh, you know, I was the only one hurting. You know, I definitely left some gaps and some people were upset but it's one of those things you have to do.
That's right. And it is just business.
For the good.
Right.
And honestly, I kind of did it for the good of me. And I was a person that was always thinking about others.
Right.
Always putting others before my needs, including my family themselves.
And notice what you said before your needs. It's not like you're being selfish. I mean, anyone listening to this would think, oh my gosh, this guy was like, I'm doing what's for me, man. I'm out. But no, it wasn't like that.
Right. So I said, deuces, I'm out. I went, but I started this new process of almost like I went through this sadness cloud. Wow. Honestly,
like depression,
sadness,
because your identity was in work. That's right.
I didn't know who I was anymore. Like, because I had a very good position. I
went through that
high level.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody could have said like, well, you're dumb to leave that place. But I knew I needed to go.
Right. And they don't know the backstory. Exactly. They don't know those events. Like you had a great position. Yes, you traveled around the world and all that, but they didn't see the inner workings of the relationships. Yeah. And
I left. And then that's where like, you know, this whole black cloud was over me for a while and I didn't know what to do.
Right. Who you were.
Who I was, what I wanted to do next. And it took about 7 months.
Wow.
I think 6 or 7 months after I left that I was like literally at the bottom, you know. I was that donkey. Remember that story?
Yeah.
I was a donkey in the pit and they were throwing dirt at me and someone was trying to kill me.
And you're like, this is my grave.
And I said, oh, okay, adios. Peace out, world.
I'm out again. Right. That's funny.
And I was really, you know, struggling and hurt and going through all the emotions of that.
Sure.
But it wasn't until, you know, I had to realize like, hey, there's more to you than this.
That's right.
There's more to you than the place you were at before and the place you're at now. So it was that.
Okay.
I don't know if I answered your question.
Well, no, it's okay because nonetheless, you still I think you gave some actually really good tidbits for people to pull because some of the things you said were that there's someone right now, I guarantee you, listen to this right now. They're thinking about leaving their job. First, we're not telling you to leave your job, but we are saying that you have to be wise enough to observe what you're really feeling. You were sensing that your identity was wrapped in work. Yeah. You were feeling like you weren't sure if you needed to stay or you needed to go.
Correct.
But you also felt like once you made the decision to go, that it wasn't like, I'm out and let's go. I'm supercharged. Sometimes you feel energetic. Sometimes you feel motivated, which I tell you is temporal, but you couldn't yet sense the inspiration or what am I doing? It was a step of faith.
Right.
Leap of faith. Correct. That's what it really is. It's like the picture I love seeing. It's an artist rendition of faith. And there's this person on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
And it's literally facing the cliff. And he basically gets this unction like the Lord is telling him or the spirit inside of him is telling him to jump.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. And you see this picture of a person just leaning off the edge, and right underneath them is the hand of God going to carry them, right? Mm-hmm. So I know some people are like, that's so dumb. I'm not jumping off a cliff, but I'm simply saying, in an analogy, that's what it was like for you.
Yes.
So you went through a lot of things, and I think they are too, and they can appreciate that. Well, I have some similar stories too, man, because I wasn't always an entrepreneur. Now, I grew up in a household where my dad, he had some hard run-ins with employment and whatnot, and he was an incredible worker, had a master's, doing his thing. He's just like you, was crushing the business world, wanted to step out, but it wasn't everything that he thought it was going to be, but I still got a chance to see that. Yeah. So at least gave me the courage to do it. But when I worked for other people, there were times where I would be like, is there more to this? Yeah. I always had a sense that there was more to me. Yeah. And so I made the mistake of bringing all of me to where I was. Yeah. And it took the business world teaching me that they don't want all of you. They want the piece of you that makes them successful. You got all these other gifts, skills, talents, and abilities. That's all good. But we hired you for this. So that made it tough for me. And I can imagine it probably challenged you a little bit being a creative. Did you have any moments when you were working that you were like, I know there's more and I want to do more, but then you kind of like met some resistance where they told you couldn't?
Yeah. As creative, you always, and especially if you're a good creative, you always want to step over the boundaries.
Right.
Like you want to be innovative. You want to go new. And there was always a lot of pushback. So there was a lot of creative frustration.
That's interesting.
And as the director, my minions, in lack of better terms, who I really cared for, had a lot of creative frustrations because it was like, man, we could do so much, yet we're not allowed to.
And that sucks.
Or this or that. And I get it. There's demographics, there's marketing purposes, and all that. But at the same time,
it's still just a box. It's a limit.
It's like, come on, people. Right. Like, even pancake brands innovate. But yeah, so I had a lot of frustration when it came to the creative side.
I can understand that. I remember when I used to be in ministry. First of all, I had a few jobs. There was a period of my life, bro, which is the strangest thing. Yeah. And I've always learned the difference. I heard ministers used to preach the difference between a test and a trial. Test is a short-term thing. Test your patience, test your will, test your faith. And it is a decision or something that you have to go through. A trial tests your character. Yeah. And typically, and I know some of you may be going through that right now, you're like, I'm in a period of 5, 6, 7 years where whatever it is, just not going right. Or I keep repeating the same thing, even though I'm constantly trying to change my approach. Yeah. But that could be because there's something on the other side of that that you have to be prepared for now. But I feel like maybe that's what you were experiencing. Yeah. Were you going through a period where it was like you were growing or you were being challenged for that creative process, or were you being pushed to think beyond the walls? Like, what's on the other side?
Well, the frustrations were that they expected so much, yet they didn't give you the creative freedom to be able to deliver. So on one hand, we want to conquer the world.
Yes.
And they also like, with this little bit of money. And two, it was like, but you got to do it on
this
black
way.
and white.
Yep.
You can't add color to it. Let's just say that.
Wow.
Talking about creatives.
Sure.
So that was really frustrating.
I can understand that.
Well, make up your mind.
Right.
And then, there was micromanaging and like that, those sorts of things that to a leader, to an entrepreneur, to a creative, it'll drive any of them nuts.
It'll suck it out of your life.
Just because it's like, okay, you tell me lift this brush. Okay. Right. Brush stroke. Okay, what's next? And it's like, no, that's not how we're meant to function.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So those were some of the.
So then, did you have any places of bitterness because of that?
Well, not at first, because you don't see them. You're mostly angry at first, and you're just like, but they're like quick anger because it's like, okay, this is the job. Let's just get project done. Move on. Right. But when it becomes a routine,
bro,
and it keeps going, and it
starts to grow, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you start questioning everything. You start like, am I even good?
It's like the Matrix, like red pill, blue pill, bro.
And you sometimes felt like you were a puppet, and there was a puppet master controlling everything,
right?
And you're like, man, I got more that I could offer.
So much more.
I could do more. I could. but you don't like cut those strings off.
Sure. It's kind of like the whole saying where people say a salary is the money they give you for you to sell your dream. Right. So it's like, I'm not paying you to be all that you are.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay you as much money as it takes for you to be okay with just being this piece of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I'll bump it up every year if I have to, just to contain you a little bit more, right? Because of course, it's money makes you happy, right?
And there was a period where they kind of felt that I wasn't happy, and they were trying to let's give them a new position. Let's
raise the title. Let's change the title.
Yeah. Do these things.
Seen that before.
And they did it, and it was great, and they kept me there for a little bit longer. But then it was like, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
And then again, visions start turning.
Sure.
The way the company was heading is different. So I didn't like it anymore. I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I was questioning every day, and I was like, okay, what's gonna happen today? Who's gonna be dropped today? Who's gonna be gained today?
Wow.
So, and that whole thing had a negative effect, I think.
Of course.
In the staff.
That's
and
right.
the
Culture.
building, and it was like this very weird cloud of
every time you walked in.
Instability.
Yeah.
Because again, when you're at a company, you want some sort of stability
or
of security of
and it doesn't exist.
We know what we are, we know what we're doing, and it's like McDonald's suddenly deciding to open up a tire shop,
right?
And they're gonna go fully tires, and it's like that totally
doesn't line up with what
doesn't line up,
right.
And like
and yet I have to accept it,
and yet we have to work in
right.
So I knew that there was a time where I was like, I knew that my time was
ticking a little bit, so to speak.
And the frustrations were just like, the frustrationometer was like slowly but surely
it's slowly creeping up. Well, and you know what? And that's okay. I love the fact that you're speaking to the reality of some of the things that happen on the inside of us. And I remember that was kind of the same thing with me. I used to work. So I had a position when I first started in business. I jumped right out of college. In fact, I was hired before I even had my degree. I was in a business class. It was economics, and there was not a teacher. There was a CEO of, at this time, it still is, the largest privately owned wireless company in the entire United States. Okay, and they had a regional footprint, but they had this national impact. In fact, they were one of the companies that broke up the AT&T monopoly.
Gotcha.
That whole series when it was on C-SPAN and all that. So I took that position. I was crushing it, dude. I was in sport marketing. I loved what I was doing. Just like you, I was traveling. They, had the spending account. I looked like a baller. I'm 23 years old. I'm driving a brand new 2007 Charger. First year it came out, bro. Right. Bomb. You know what I mean? But the thing about it is just like you, I found myself recognizing very quickly that these items and things and this stuff that I was able to kind of amass, they weren't bringing me joy.
Yeah.
It wasn't what it was, projected to be. And I always felt like, although I gave so much, I was like, but there's so much more to me.
Yeah,
and I want to do so much, and I want to be here and I want to be there. Now, some people say, well, that's just a lack of discipline, right? You're just one of those guys that want to be everywhere. But it wasn't that, because I was great at my job.
Yeah.
So great that I would get the highest reviews you can get. I got those bumps every year, and it wasn't just the what's the thing called cost of living bumps.
Oh, gotcha.
But I guess for me, I felt like I always knew that there was more, and I wanted to achieve it, but I didn't see it then that I was actually being conditioned to live in the box.
Yeah.
And once I started to see the box, kind of like the Matrix, I too dealt with that frustration creatively, and that frustration of feeling like, am I limited to just this? And the reason why I'm bringing this up, and the reason why I'm saying this at all, is because I made the conscious decision to forgive myself, first off, for allowing myself to feel like I had to live a life in the box. Because I thought that was what life was.
Yes.
I had to forgive myself. And then I remember deciding, okay, maybe I want to do something different. But it wasn't until my wife came into my life where she had an Olympic dream and I had to become her coach. I had to decide. Like I had to physically decide, do I want to keep pursuing this career?
Me or her,
Me or her. And I said, you know what?
I honestly commend you for that.
Well, I appreciate it, bro.
Because I know you were also an Olympic level athlete.
Yes, right.
With Olympic level dreams. And it's like you gave it up.
Well, I got hurt.
I know, but at the same time,
I didn't come back to it.
You didn't keep pursuing it because you pursued it through
and put it into her. Right. That's a very true statement.
That's amazing. Honestly,
well, I appreciate
hats off
that.
to you.
Thanks, man.
No,
but I guess what I want to say though is there was a period of time after leaving that job, just like you, where you start feeling like, holy crap, like, did I make the right decision? Like, I didn't doubt my love. I didn't doubt our relationship. And I know people say that's what you get. You know, love don't pay the bills. Yeah, but it sure makes it a whole lot easier. To go out there and earn what you need to pay the bills because I have a real love. Yeah, right? Sure. But there was this period, bro, of like 6 to 7 years where it felt like everything I touched, I would do great at it. But it was I just kept hitting the ceiling.
The ceiling, yeah.
You know what I mean? No matter what I did. Yeah. Did you ever go through that?
Oh, yeah. You know, and when you're talking about forgiving yourself, I think that's the first step of forgiveness.
Sure.
I had to forgive myself too. And just, I'm sorry, sidetrack, but I had to forgive myself because I didn't give myself the love and respect and time
that you deserve,
that I deserve, when I was giving it to everybody else.
Wow. Very great point, Carlos.
And sometimes, you know, as professionals and, you know, you're trying to escalate that ladder, trying to, you know, get better and better. Right. You literally sacrifice yourself, who you are, your identity, like your morals, your moral obligations to a lot of things. And it's like just to get
to this level
that
really like, doesn't exist. Exactly. It's a figment of our imagination.
Exactly. So in my process of leaving my previous employer and walking through some darkness, realize, I'm sorry, Carlos, because you were always coming, not even second or third. Right. You were coming 10th, 11th, 12th. Wow. To be quite frank.
Wow.
And it's like, it got me nowhere. You know?
Yeah.
But going to answering your questions about peaking, you know, I peaked so much.
Yeah.
And my thing is, when you stop learning, that's when you need to change.
Yes. Or when there's not any opportunity to learn. Because we can say we can learn from anyone and everything. Yeah. But in my case, I literally had an employer. I remember, not to cut you off, but I think it's going to go with what you're saying. I literally had an employer that had a school. So I don't want to talk about them, but this campus I used to work at, they had a real college on their campus that was accredited. And they offered business masters. They offered masters in psychology, all this stuff, right? Because it was a real college on campus. Right. And they were supposed to offer to employees like me. I was a director at the time. They said that they would pay for your college.
Yeah.
So I went to a leader in our company and I asked him, hey, you know I'm crushing it here and whatnot, but I would love to jump in part-time. Would you think that'd be a great idea? And the guy literally told me no, not because he was sparing me. He said, I don't think you need to get it. He says, no, I mean, if it would, now hear this out now. This was one of the executive VPs of the entire company.
Wow.
Who was at the time supposed to be a mentor to me. And he says to me, unless it creates a bump in your pay, I don't think that it'd be worth you going to get a master's, even though we could pay for it. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense because if I get the master's, you know as well as I do that would give me a bump in my pay,
regardless.
So why would I not be encouraged to grow to learn and to do something different? But I knew that would line up with what you said. So if you're not,
there might have been a little jealousy there,
dude. If you're not growing and learning, you need to make a change.
Exactly. See? I think this is with anything, and I think this is some good advice for entrepreneurs and business owners. Like, if you see that your people, your employees, your team is stagnant or not growing, it's time for you to light some fire, man. Throw some different kind of wood, spice it up, change things up.
That's right.
Give them opportunities.
Give them opportunities,
bro. Because the thing is, you will lose great people.
That's right.
For the lack of you feeding them.
I see it all the time.
The fire they need.
There's articles about that. I mean, Inc. Was it Harvard Business Review? They talk about that all the time.
Exactly. And there's people that like stay and they're comfortable in their stagnant world. But
nothing wrong with that.
There's some that are valuable that you're like, I don't want to lose this person. To find this person is going to cost me a lot more money and a lot more time. Sure. So I'm like, and But that's a fact.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens to us, to leaders. I mean, what's not to say that it doesn't happen to the people working under you?
That's right. And let me ask you a question. Going back to forgiveness and going back to failure. So we're talking a lot about our employers and what happened in our past.
Right.
But let's talk about it from the outside of before entrepreneurship. You were running businesses or trying to start businesses on the side as your means to doing or giving yourself an outlet, right?
Yeah.
But there are probably some moments, like for instance, you have people who want to start a business, but they don't because they're afraid they're going to lose their job because of conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Or they've actually had physical, or not physical, right? That'd be assault. But somebody literally tell them, you can't do this because we don't need you being distracted. Or they found out, I've seen that before. They found out you were doing something and they put an end to it. And I'm like, first of all, this is something I'm doing outside of the business that has no interference with or interferes with my work or productivity. Right. And you're telling me I can't be all that I am created to be.
Yeah.
Have you ever had those moments where that your employment actually hindered the things that were inside of you that you were trying to get off the ground and caused them to fail?
Yes. And I think one of the major problems in businesses is they try to control their life because of fear.
True.
And the fear is that they might lose you to the competition or to yourself or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, guys, like, stop letting them. I mean, if they want to go and pursue, let them.
You should
Someone
encourage
else
them.
will come.
That's right.
Be that kind of boss. Be that kind of leader that wants the best. In our case, or in my case, and that term, again, it's called moonlighting. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're
full-time. You're just kind of touching on.
Let's say I was a director, a TV producer. I couldn't do TV production for another company.
Right.
I could go work at Starbucks. That's different, but if it's in the same, and again, it's like, oh, you're selling our secrets to them. And that's how they think about it.
Yeah. And that's not even the case.
But in my case, there's the term, don't put your eggs in one basket.
Right. All of them. Yeah. Yep.
And that's entrepreneur business 101. Like,
True.
Right. As a business owner, you don't
stocks,
do that.
Everything.
But it's like, when it comes to an employer, they force you to do that.
Wow.
And might be loyalty or it might be whatever.
All these other buzzwords.
Honestly, I think it's just fear.
Really being honest.
It's fed from fear. So when I was at my previous employer, like that wasn't a stipulation for a long time.
Good for you.
I was like, again, booming in my industry or my realm, and I was getting other gigs. And thank you to that, I was able to afford to buy a house, buy cars, vacation. Like, it wasn't because of my employer.
Right.
Again, I was working for a nonprofit that paid not much.
There you go.
But then there was a time where I got so famous in a way. Not that I was famous.
No, I understand. But in the industry, people respected who you were.
That I think they had fear of like, we can lose this guy.
Yeah.
And there was people, bro, that offered me jobs. Like, they would come visit us and they would offer me jobs like
crazy.
Kind of like in the enemy's camp.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm like, I can't believe I just got a job offer. But that would happen to me left and right.
Wow.
So I think that my bosses were like, okay, we might lose him. So then that's where they forced me to sign a contract.
Wow.
Kind of like almost like a,
you can't do this anymore.
You are ours and ours alone for 2 years.
Yep.
And that I didn't appreciate.
Wow.
And that's where I think the whole thing started, which is so funny. It was 2 years. The contract lasted for 2 years.
Right.
And 2 years after the contract is when I left.
Wow.
And I think that was the initial part of me feeling bitter against them and like almost like, man, if you're for me, like.
Yeah. And you see, I've been loyal all these years. You're talking 13 years.
And it's not like costed. Like, I'm doing my job still. Like, I'm doing it to the best of my ability. Like, I'm not.
You were crushing it, bro.
And so
all around the world, son.
So it's one of those things where I'm like, why would you?
Yeah.
Why are you forcing me to do this?
Sure.
And it was forced.
Yeah.
And in the contract, if I didn't obey, like, I would lose everything.
Wow.
I'd have to pay all the money that they had given me.
What?
Like, it was like, and then I'd be out, and it was like,
wow.
It was definitely a win-lose. Or maybe not a win-win, because I mean, I did get a raise and whatnot. But anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, that's when I started getting bitter and kind of angry against this company. And 2 years later, which was so funny, is when I left.
Wow. But you didn't ever, first of all, anyone listening, you didn't leave on bad terms. I know the whole story and I know a lot of what happened there, and it was all positive, but your mind was different. You were able to see things differently that was going on around you that you weren't observing at first.
Again, I didn't realize I was going to leave, but now looking back at it, that was the initial thing. Wow. And a lot of things changed in 2 years. Yeah. Our founder passed away. Wow. So there was a lot of restructuring.
That makes sense. Yeah. And it wasn't even the same company at that point.
Yeah, it was different. So I don't know, it was coincidence or it was the Lord that he's because I knew that in 2 years from that point
you were probably going to be doing something gone, different.
But it wasn't because of the contract. I just felt like,
you knew, you sensed it.
So me and my wife took 2 years to save up and prepare our way out.
You hear that? Listen carefully.
Again, yeah. And this is very important because even if you want to leave and you want to go somewhere else, doesn't mean that you can.
That's right.
So you have to be smart about leaving and how you do
use
that.
Wisdom.
We knew 2 years prior to that we were going to be unemployed in a sense. So we prepared for that coming. And when it came, it was easier for me to be like, okay, I'm now.
This is the time.
This is the time. I'm leaving. I'm prepared. And we were so prepared that we were like, okay, we're still here. Then we might as well buy an investment property.
There you go. My man.
But it was like, it kind of hit and we were like, okay, well, we're ready. We gathered up for the famine season.
Yeah.
And we never famined.
At all.
So we jumped straight to this. But I remember being so wow, why control me like that?
Yeah.
Why do this? Do you not trust me? Hello, I've been so loyal to
That's
you.
Funny you're saying that, bro.
And I would outperform myself, bro.
Right.
Honestly, you're saying, I would kill it.
Yep.
And it was never enough.
It's never enough.
Period. It was never it was almost expected. And if it's you'd only hear something if you failed.
Yeah, I went through that. And I think that's what you're saying so much, Carlos. First of all, I'm in all listening because I can relate 100% to that feeling. And I share those sentiments. And that period of time I was talking about earlier, that was what I kept facing.
Yeah.
I actually told my wife said it too. She says, I've never met anyone who takes it to the highest level, to the point where not just the company, but the CEOs recognize it. And they're like, this guy is going to be our next star. Mm-hmm. But then it's but the people under them that I'm under, they don't like that, bro. And no matter how much I produce, when I say literally, and I mean, I'm gonna give you some stories in a minute, but there were opportunities for me. So I tried to figure out what it was for me during that period of time that I transitioned out of the actual employment world. So I was like, okay, man, I want to go coaching full time. So I actually was trying to go to the University of Mississippi. I had a coach that I respected very well, and he brought me there. But dude, here's the story. I was supposed to be the director of operations there. I get to the school. They had already he said, man, you're my guy. Put your name in there. Don't you worry. You just need to be here. We got you. I'll even pay for all your moving expenses. All that is covered. We just need to make sure you're here before we start. I picked my wife up. We both went. We're like, this is the opportunity. I get told, miss, there's no job. That's literally what happens, bro. And I don't mind sharing this because this is my failure experience. Yeah. I trusted someone that I thought I could trust because I used to call him a mentor.
Right. Yeah.
And basically what he expressed to me was because at this point in time, whether it's true or not, he was hiring a lot of minorities. I'm not saying that's the case. I don't want anybody to assume that was the case. I'm not assuming the case. Yeah. But I happened to be the last one, and they put someone else in that position that was not. Mm-hmm. No problem, because I can coach. Yeah. That was my backup. So I was an assistant to him. But guess what happens? I end up taking another opportunity to finish or start, a master's. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to get my business master's here. That's what I'm going to do. If I'm here, my exercise science master's. That's what I'm going to do. So I study, I'm doing this and doing this and this. I'm taking it to such a high level that the athletes are petitioning to let me be their coach full time and leave him. And they're expressing it to him. Yeah. So he would pull me into meetings privately and say, what are you doing? Yeah. He literally says, you're making me look bad.
Gotcha.
This was the first time that I'd ever heard these words from anyone that was my superior. And I thought that was just like a myth. No one does that.
Yeah.
You're making me look bad. We're getting these reviews from our athletes that are going to my supervisor and my superiors, and they're all talking about you.
Yeah.
And you're coaching your wife who has an Olympic dream. Let me coach her. Literally says this. Let me coach her. How about you just give me what you like to do?
Yeah.
And I take her through the program. And then when she, meets a certain standard or whatnot, whatever, then of course you guys decide to move on, or maybe we even have something for you guys both to be here.
Yeah.
This is what's happening behind closed doors. Okay. Then the next, step in my career, I go to another employer. Mm-hmm. We're killing it. My wife and I are employed. And this is the story I wanted to share because there's a lot of bitterness building up here because I'm like, that was my first major hurt. Mm-hmm. And I get an employer, we're killing it, I'm crushing it, I'm ministering, I'm doing the director of youth, and my wife is director of physical education. We're both being paid well. And there was a year we were supposed to be renewing our employment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And mine comes in quickly, and my wife is looking for hers, like what happened? Yeah. They didn't even have a meeting with us. Yeah. The owner, we go to him and we say, hey, we saw you renewed me for another year because this was a school, an entrepreneur venture where there was also a school involved. Yeah. And he goes, I forgot about your wife. Now, mind you, he says he forgot, but what he does is he hires his best friend's 2 kids who just leave college to replace her and says he forgot about her, my wife. So now I'm like, I got to get out of here too. I'm not going to just, this is my wife, bro. You can't forget about my wife. Of course. Now, mind you, it's building again. Yeah. So I'm thinking maybe the next thing is I'm going to just take this ministry thing to full level. I get an opportunity in ministry. I'm a director there. They're paying me not as much as I was making before, but I was like, it's okay. I know they have an upward trajectory. I work for someone and I told them before I even got there. So the one thing I don't want to do is come here, just like what you said earlier, jump into a situation that's similar to what I just walked out of, and you be in a position of feeling like I'm making you look bad. Yeah. Or I'm doing it to a level that you feel like no one else can achieve. Yeah. Sure enough, that's what happened.
Oh, gosh.
He has me in a meeting, says, what do you think this is? You think this is the Charles show? He literally said this to me. Wow. He's like, you're doing all this and you're setting the bar so high. First of all, I want to tell you, you're the one that set the bar this high. I'm like, that's what you paid me to do. I'm crushing it and I'm making you look good. The campus was struggling. They were discussing probably giving it to another leader. There was a whole lot of stuff going on. He brings me on. We turn it around. It goes from a campus of just a few hundred people to a few thousand people in less than a year. Wow. Then it continues to grow. We have 100% rate of we had 105% rate of return. People were still involved. Yeah, of course. And he says, what are you doing? If you want to stay here, these were his words, then you're going to have to back off the accelerator a little bit. He didn't know that the bosses above him were like, yo, we want to give this man his own campus. Now we're talking about bitterness and failure. Bro, I had a series of failure when I was succeeding.
Mm-hmm. And frustration.
What do you mean, bro?
I'm frustrated for you.
This kills. And I'm I'm racking myself like, Lord, is it me? Yeah. Is it something I'm not doing right? Yeah. Because I'm giving them the best of me. Yeah. I'm managing so much and I'm doing it better than anyone has ever done it by their own words. Yeah. And every time I do it, something happens. Mm-hmm. What's going on? So, bro, we're talking about forgiveness and failure. I had to go through some real healing, man.
Oh my gosh. Dude.
Do you have anything like that? Do you experience anything in your life where it was like you were crushing it and then failure came? It may not have been from your past employer. Was there anything that happened?
Charles, right. It amazes me. I know you're asking me if I've gone through this, but okay. You know what amazes me is that you not only once, but twice.
3 times.
3 times. And you know what? I think people genuinely sometimes are so jealous of other successes.
Sure, I get that.
That they can't celebrate. Right. And that is when the problem begins for them. Yeah. But I understand why you were angry.
Yeah, bro.
But my question to you, did you think that you were the problem? Because it's happened 3 times.
Yes.
Were you am I the issue here?
Yeah, and I'm grateful you asked that because I hope that when I say this, people really feel, not just hear, but feel how sincere I am when I make this response. That is something that my wife can honestly attest regarding me. I always ask, God, is it me?
Yeah.
Am I doing something wrong? I mean, not just searching the scriptures, but I would even ask people in my sphere, my circle. So at the time I was managing 100 people, 100 individuals who had like maybe 5 to 10 people under them.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, real management. And this is for a nonprofit also. So people don't realize the work it takes. And I would ask, like, is there something I'm doing? They're like, are you freaking kidding? Since you came here, this is the reason why I have the passion I have to do this, right? Yeah. And I'm looking to my superior, my immediate superior. Is there something I'm doing? Are you kidding? Why do you think we gave you a 4-star review and we gave you a raise? Like, you set every record in your class. We've never had anyone do it.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't understand why I'm being praised and lauded by the people that I'm leading and the people who are immediately over me. But then the superior above that is feeling insecure in all 3 of these situations, or does something that challenges me to a point where I have to be like, it's got to be me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm doing this soul searching, trying to figure it out. I'm fasting. I'm praying.
Yeah.
I'm reading scriptures. Now, mind you, to give you an answer, I realize, Carlos, and I know sometimes there are times when it is us.
Yeah.
But there are genuinely times when it's not.
Yeah.
There really are. And I think I mentioned earlier, there's a difference between a test and a trial.
Right.
Many of us don't recognize the difference. And I always went back to that because I had a really wise bishop who preached about that. And he would say, a test will hit you in a moment. Yeah. Maybe it's a temptation. Maybe it's a test of your will or your grit or your faith, whatever. But a trial, just like we see on TV, can last for years.
Yeah, yeah.
And you are always innocent.
Yeah.
There are people in jail that are literally going through a trial and have been innocent even before they were accused.
Oh, God.
This is what a trial means. And there are many of these in the Bible.
Yeah.
Not tests, trials.
Trials, yeah.
Where there's a period like David, years of being faithful, years of being successful. Do you remember the story of David where the Bible says that Saul had, the ladies would sing, Saul has killed his 1,000, but David has killed his tens of thousands.
Yeah.
And he was getting pissed off. He was so pissed off at his most loyal subject who brought him so much fame, because that fame and success made the business look good, made the kingdom look good, but other people were looking at him. Sometimes that's just favor, bro.
Right. And the thing is also, like, in this case, in Saul and David's story, David was out on the field.
Out on the field.
In the nitty gritty of things.
That's right.
Saul was in his palace.
In his palace, sitting on the throne.
Eating his turkey every day.
The
thing is, people saw David as who he really was, identified with him. And I'm sure David wasn't this arrogant, cocky, whatever. Even though he knew he had a calling, he still stayed humble and true to the shepherd boy he was always. Obviously, he learned skills and he was a warrior too. But
absolutely.
But to go back and answer your question, if I've dealt with this, not necessarily on a like hierarchy of bosses and executives and stuff, but with colleagues. And I remember, man, and it hurt me so much. Like, that was a process that I had to walk in, kind of forgive and just kind of like inner healing while I was still there. One day I hear that there's like 6 or 7 people that have lunch together.
Right. Wow.
Which is so funny. And it's almost, I should feel like, what's the word? In Spanish is halagado.
Yeah, like honored.
Honored.
Yeah.
But dude, they're talking smack about me like left and right. And I had no idea.
Sure.
They're saying that, Carlos is entitled just because he has the boss's ears.
Favor, right?
Favor. Because again, favor wasn't fair with me.
Yeah.
Like, I was in all the top meetings.
Yes.
I was probably one of the top highest paid.
That's exactly right.
All the good things, right?
Same thing.
Even though they didn't know how much I was working behind the scenes and how much I was getting, no
one can appreciate what you're really doing and what it really takes.
So, what hurt me the most was like, I genuinely cared for these people.
Sure.
and I
you wouldn't have thought this way toward them.
Because I'm a giver, so I would always do like, oh, I brought you some Starbucks. Oh, I brought you a birthday gift. Like, it was a birthday. I would take him. These people that are talking bad about
are the
me,
people you're blessing.
Oh my gosh.
That's why the Lord said that. Bless those that curse you.
How does this happen? And, it did. And I went through hatred. Like, I was like, ooh, I hate these people.
Wow.
Like, I don't want to see them. And honestly, dude, I like shunned them.
Wow.
Like I would not
interact with them at all.
With them, avoid them. I kept doing my job. I kept being successful at it.
It's easy to be bitter and still be moving forward.
And at that point, I was like, in your face.
Yeah.
And I would do things to like...
just to rub it in a little.
And also like, I don't think that person needs to be involved.
Wow.
Because I had a level of influence.
That's right.
That I could.
That's how it goes.
And it was like, man, like... And it took roughly about a year, maybe 2 years of me being that bitter.
Wow.
And made me a jerk.
Of course.
To these people.
What else do you expect?
And like, until one day, you know what? I said, man, they're going through something. And it went from bitterness to compassion.
There you go.
And when it turned to compassion, I was like, I changed my attitude, started talking to them again. I would find ways to bless them.
Yeah, bro.
By the end of it, bro, the majority of them loved, were close, we talk. We still talk, some of them. And some of those people that were talking smack are now some of the people that have actually shown me how for me they are.
Yeah.
So that's what I went through as far as situations like that.
And that spoke so loudly, not just of you, but to our viewers and our listeners, because that's essentially where we're trying to get to. There is a level of forgiveness that first, like we said, you have to forgive yourself for some of the things you didn't do, couldn't achieve, some of the things that you are responsible for.
Correct.
But then you have to forgive other people for their perspective of you, whether it's fair or not.
Correct.
And then, like you said, and I made sure to reiterate, you started blessing them where you could have stayed in a bout of cursing them.
Yes.
And it didn't mean that you didn't go through it. I think that's what I wanted us to, I'm just so glad you did that.
Yeah.
Is we're trying to convey the reality that these feelings and emotions you go through in business are real. And as a human being, but you always have the right to make a decision to turn. Yes. Like even in my case, what I didn't share, because a lot of people say, okay, Charles, what did you do? I literally, and I know this is going to sound crazy. Some people are going to think, no, he's lying, but I am not lying. When I started questioning whether it was something I was doing instead of being bitter, I literally kept going back to the scripture. So I just would keep my mouth shut. And there were even times where I would kneel. I know you're going to think this is crazy. One time that same coach that was like, you're making me look bad. When he would try to bring me over, he wanted my advice, but he didn't want it to come in a way where they knew it was from me.
Gotcha.
He would say something to me in front of them to embarrass me. I would kneel.
Like physically?
Physically kneel. in an essence of saying, I'm listening, whatever it is you need. Now somebody say, bro, that doesn't make any sense, but you got to understand, you got to capture this. I realized that in order to be elevated, I just had to rely on humility.
Yeah. Wow.
I wasn't here to fight. I never came in here to steal anybody's position. Yeah. I thought I was here to give you the best of me. I remember telling my employer in the ministry, he says, why do you do this? Why do you go so hard? I said, you know why I do this? Because you deserve that.
Yeah.
I said that to him. I said, you deserve that.
Yeah.
You've told me that you had people in the past that have held this position and they never, ever upheld what this position really meant to the ministry. Right, yeah. I'm in it and I'm taking it to levels that you guys never saw or expected because you deserve that.
Yeah. Wow.
I literally said that. I said, why else do you think I go so hard?
Yeah.
So I'm saying this to you because I commend what you said.
Yeah.
It took a level of humility and a level of forgiveness to forgive the perspective of someone else that they had to you, whether it was right or wrong.
Dude, what an episode, man.
This is amazing.
Yeah. And I hope that you guys, don't judge us, but take our vulnerability.
Right.
Because honestly, this wasn't easy to share.
Of course not.
But it is so important to forgive oneself, forgive those who act against you.
That's right.
For you to be actually free and move forward.
To move forward.
Because if you dwell, which I did with my coworkers, my peers for 2 years.
Wow.
2 years.
Wow.
And it's not like I needed them to be successful or be happy.
Of course.
But like, I was like, ooh.
You can either stay in there. That's right.
It's my purpose now to make you miserable.
And bro, your life would have been miserable.
And until I was like, why am I doing this? And I realized it was being miserable.
Yep.
It was at that point where I was like,
that's right.
Like, I'm literally like leaving the lunchroom because they walked in.
High school. I mean, like, what?
Exactly. What's it to me? Like,
we're adults.
Come on. And it took that long, and I did it, and
it's okay though.
Finally, it was like, you know, and now they're close friends.
That's amazing.
So anyway, we say all that to say, forgiveness is key
before you can move forward.
Before moving forward. So if you're dealing with unforgiveness, bitterness against your boss,
or your employer,
or whatever, like,
or the hurt that you've gone through that you're carrying from employer to employer, keeping it real.
Yes. Carrying, oh my gosh, that's so important.
That's huge.
Carrying basically baggage.
Employer to employer.
Dude, it's going to slow you down so much.
And it'll kill you because that will become the essence of what they feel your character is, even though inside of you, you know that's not.
You can't move forward.
You can't.
So guys, please, like, some of these people you don't even see anymore.
At all.
Like, stop wishing them bad. Stop, like...
Because they did this to me, I can't go forward. I would have been here if I hadn't gone through that. Can I say this? Yes, I can say this.
I'll allow you.
I'm going to say this. I don't need your permission. No, just kidding. No, listen. Here's the reality.
Yeah.
Nobody is holding you back from moving you forward. And no one is holding on to that past baggage but you. Let it go so you can move forward. That's what I want to say. There's something else I want to say, but you telling me you give me your permission. I straight up forgot it. Because I was like,
this has been a long episode.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much, Charles, for
I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for your honesty and transparency.
And for being together this week. Honestly, it's been awesome.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate it.
So again, if you enjoyed today's podcast, if you enjoy Charles and I's company,
right,
you know, tune in every week. Every other week. You'll be listening to us on every podcast platform out there. And we also have our social media account. We're on Instagram. If you want to look us up, we're Rebound and Rebuild Podcast.
Yeah.
Or at Rebound and Rebuild Podcast. But you see the information right there on your screen. But those that are driving, just listening, at Rebound and Rebuild Podcast.
This is Coach Charles.
And Carlos, the creator.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner